Hi, and welcome back to another installment of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed. I'm your host, Cuddy Cudworth, the UK's leading mind management coach, self-titled James Andrews, self-titled, and I'll explain why. But we are hitting a massive pillar of information for leadership, resilience, and experience. And that's exactly what we've got on the podcast. We have been friends for many years. I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a long time, James. So thank you so much for coming on. We're coming up to about 34,000 subscribers on the podcast now. We are growing. We're growing a community of resilience and solutions. And I'm a big believer in, even if my wife says she's not looking for a solution, she just wants me to hear her. I'm still a big believer in solutions, not problems. And you, my friend, are the absolute beacon of this as we had the conversation before we started. So, introduce yourself, tell us who you are and where you are.
Cuddy, how are you? It's so good to see you. It's been a long time, my friend. I'm glad that we've managed to align everything so we can have this very informative podcast. It's great to see you. My name is James Andrews, everybody. Thank you for letting me join Cuddy today. I've been in the travel, tourism, hospitality business for pretty much the last 28 years. Most of that has been specializing in the entertainment guest experience fields, working for a considerable amount of time in the cruise industry. I was cruise director on the world's largest cruise ships, primarily with Royal Caribbean Cruises for a very long time. I did start my entertainment career as a redcoat at Butlins in Skegness, of all places. I was a
Forgot about that.
yeah. I was a redcoat at Butlins in 1999. My first ship was in February 2000. But remember the old Y2K, the Millennium Bug? It
Yeah.
was a big thing. We made a show about it at Butlins and everything. It was like, whoa. Anyway, yeah, it was cool. And then, yeah, for the most recently, the cruise industry took a bit of a downturn during COVID that made me unfortunately head back to Australia for a few years, about 18, just shy of 2 years. Uh, during that time, during that time, I was fortunate to receive basically I was headhunted by Atlantis Resorts in Dubai, and I joined Atlantis in September. Yeah, 4 years ago, September 1st, 2021, and yeah, I've been in Dubai ever since. So here I am, reporting live from the United Arab Emirates.
We talked about something in a little 5 minute prep before we start the podcast, but I think the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today is leadership, because I know that is to your absolute core, and what leadership is, or what's the resemblance of good leadership, because I think it's one of those things that people still don't know and still don't get.
True. I think, to be fair, I think leaders I think let's say during the course of our careers, Cuddy, we can recognize a handful of people that we would say have been good leaders, right?
Stop the
Even
buses right there. Stop the buses right there. I will actually, do you know what? I'm going to throw right out a 100% compliment to you, James Andrews. You were one of the handful of people that I would say, James Andrews, great, great leader.
Oh, you're a legend. Thanks, buddy. Remember that time we were
It
in
was in
India?
Dubai. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
stood up as cruise director for like 3 weeks or something, because they said we
yeah,
can't get a cruise director out there. James Andrews is coming. Right,
yeah.
perfect, not a problem. And now, to a compliment to me, I wasn't ego driven at that point. So when you were coming in, I was like, "Let me set you up for success, and I'll go back to activities manager." Not a problem. Um, but I did, and even Carol remembers the amount of fun that we had in Dubai. Because I think I saw your post on LinkedIn about creativity. I
That
mean,
was
Jesus,
today. That was
oh,
today.
we had to be in Dubai because we didn't really have that much. We had the ship, but we had to create everything, right?
I think and this is a good thing about this segue to leadership, and one, it's been a bit of a hindrance actually, because on the cruise ships, being a leader, we had to have a very fix it now attitude,
Yeah.
right? Like when we're ordering inventory, like simple stuff like prizes and all these sorts of things for the events, all the different activities and all the competitions that we'd have, if we didn't have let's say, hey, our crossing, our transatlantic crossing was busier than normal. Our crossing from India back to Dubai was busier than normal, and we ran out. It wasn't like, hey, we can just make a phone call and something will be dropped off to us. We had to use that initiative and empower the people around us. Like, one, what can we make on board, if anything, right? What's available in the dollar store with the next port of call that we go to, right? So we were constantly thinking, I think we were constantly thinking on our toes. And that, to be fair, is probably one of the most transferable elements that we took, is that our passion to fix the issue as soon as possible. That being said, when you come to, like, say, a land-based role, there's a bit more of a process behind everything. You know,
Hmm.
particularly in the hotel business, like your procurement department gets involved, right? Now, let's say, hey, I would like to have, I would like to have some plush toys. I'd like to have some gold medals, but I'm going to source out to five different companies and get five different prices, and then the samples come back. Then there's an awarding process, like there's a score sheet, which company, which it can take 6 months to find a supplier. So that's learning a whole new level of patience, but it's also a part of leadership.
Which sometimes, right. So I think what we're going to take away from this, and we talked about it a lot, is how on paper the role of cruise director,
Yep.
unless you understood how to make that transferable,
Yep.
it would look like the Joker and the face of the ship. And
So,
that for some businesses would be like, we don't want that. I'm like, no, you need to, right, we're going to take that off the page, and I'm
yep.
going to show you what a cruise director actually does. And that's how I would suggest that a lot of the cruise directors have been successful after the ships, have been able to say, actually, James Andrews, what is it you do or did as a cruise director?
Right. So again, this was being a cruise director is, I don't think the actual name of the position is actually in any way accurate at all. Maybe it
No.
needs in the future a revamp. You are pretty much the director of guest experience. You are the director of entertainment. You're the director of activities. You are the director of VIP services. You are the person that will create special experiences. If you've got, let's say Super Mario, right? We all know Super Mario. He's got the most amount of cruise nights on Royal Caribbean. We know what he likes. We know what music he likes. We know which cigars he smokes, right? Um, what experiences will we curate especially for him with the effort of the team? So when these skills are transferred to land, one thing that I would recommend, and you rightly say, people do struggle, is you need to know how to market oneself,
Mm,
right? So that your possible interviewers or the jobs that you are going to apply for actually know what you do, right? Because a lot of people, yeah, I'm a cruise director. Well, exactly. What is a cruise director? Are
yeah.
you directing which direction the ship's going in? Um, but I found that was probably the beneficial way of doing it was like remarketing yourself and then actually like recognizing those different skill sets, right? What those leadership qualities may be, the teams that you were looking after and leading, what responsibilities you had in each of those separate silos. Was it like Adventure Ocean? Was it live musicians? Was it the cast? Was it the ice skaters? Was it the dive? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then being able to put that across to prospective employers and saying, hey, this is actually what I was doing, but this title is this.
Yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And today's all about leadership. And I know that you're passionate about leadership, but I want talk about the experiences that you had with leaders that lit you up and why you liked certain leadership styles. Because leadership's a broad a broad expansion of what one person's leadership's not another person's leadership. So
To give your listeners and your viewers some context. So, my actual first role as a leader, right? As a paid leader, let's because I was in cadets when I was in high school, right? And I made it the corporal. So that was my first experience of leadership, was sort of like a bit, I guess, militarian. But the actual paid lead, I used to work at McDonald's restaurants in Australia. That was my first job out of high school. And I was an assistant store manager up until the age of 21 before I decided to, go off back to the UK and I ended up working for Butlins. But, that leadership was very, very fast paced. Store managers I worked with, I very quickly learned if you're willing to ask someone to do something, you have to be prepared to do that yourself. And that is a famous quote of Ray Kroc. And Ray Kroc is the gentleman that made McDonald's famous. He's the guy that
Mm,
recognized the one McDonald's brothers restaurant that was buying all the multi-mixers for the shake machines, right? And his famous line is, if you're asking someone to clean the bathroom, be prepared to do it yourself. And that one core piece of advice from being a leader is something that has come with me my entire career,
mm,
right? You've got to be prepared to get your hands dirty, Um, listening, listening to your colleagues, like, being a leader at a director level, like I was at Atlantis, I've got directors, I've got managers, assistant managers, team leader, colleague level. Once a month, I would have a breakout session just with the colleagues. I would remove all the other layers of management and leadership, and it was just me and the colleagues would sit down for half an hour, 45 minutes, and I would try my best not to say anything. I just wanted to hear from them, right?
yeah.
And sometimes, when you remove those layers of the leadership, because it's a bit like, as the communication is going up the
Filter.
chain, it's filtered out, right? And I'm like, hang on a second, this is the communication I actually wanted you guys to hear was this, but so I found that incredibly beneficial. You've got to be able to separate yourself from your team, right? That was very hard on a cruise ship because we all lived
We lived on
together.
the same street.
We all lived on the same street. But I'll say this as well, and this is so I've given you like my McDonald's analogy, my piece there. Another one was, relationships build trust, and trust builds leaders,
Mm,
right? If you build some strong relationships with your team, right, the trust comes and the trust just harvests some great results, right? And your leadership duties are going to be, I'm not going to say they're easier. It's not easy being a leader, but the next one day might be a little bit easier than the next. And of course, Cuddy, you and I work together,
we
right?
did.
You and I worked together for 2 months, maybe a little bit longer. But I hope that you felt that I would empower you,
Yeah.
right? It wasn't me going, do this, do this, do this, do this. It was like you and I had a very effective relationship. We
We
worked
did.
together, right? And we achieved great things in the Middle East. We were doing an itinerary that the ship had never really done before, like one season before, I think. Um, and we listened. We listened to each other. We listened to our guests. We overcome some really adverse situations. Remember, we were sailing out of Dubai. We'd go to Oman for the overnight, but we were anticipating a very. I'm not going to mention the nationality, but we were anticipating a very strong demographic of one nationality, and it didn't turn out to be that way at
No,
all,
didn't
right?
know.
And then, and then all of a sudden, the boat's full of English people. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. You know what I mean? So, but being a leader, you have to be able to adapt and pivot, and that is one thing again. So we've gone from building relationships, we're listening to our colleagues, we're taking feedback from them, even though it might be a little bit difficult, and having the ability to adapt and pivot at a moment's notice and make those decisions because those decisions have an effect on your team and also the experience that you're trying to deliver.
Yeah. Yeah. We did. Yeah. We did the India run as well. I remember us going out for curries in India.
Correct. We had Goa and curry and Goa. We
We
went to Goa.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, it was lovely. God, I
It was
remember
good.
that. You
It was
so
good.
right. Let's talk about some of the leadership because we're going to talk about the two parts of leadership. Is what you learned from
Yep.
actual leaders, even at Royal Caribbean. It doesn't matter because I always mention the same person for me, and it was Darren Budden. Darren Budden was
Oh,
the leader extraordinaire for me.
DB, if you're out there, thank you. We all appreciate DB.
I'm going to try and get DB on the podcast. I've been trying to do a little bit of a thank you to the leaders that inspired me.
Yep.
You're one of them, which is why you're on the podcast. If you didn't get invited to a podcast and you're watching this, you're like, well, I didn't clearly inspire Cuddy, but that's not a them problem. That was just the way that I was. I was only inspired by certain things. Who was it that was a clear leader that you thought that's a couple of traits that I want?
I'm going to put Paul Rudder out there.
We all love Paul Rudder.
The reason why I put Paul Rudder out there, Paul Rudder had a comfortable, he managed to have a comfortable, um, he had a comfortable relationship with his team, but not disconnected.
Separated.
He had that separation. That's the word I'm looking for. He had that separation between him and his senior leadership team, the senior staff and the colleagues. And for that, I think we all managed to take that away from us, from him to us, and then we used that when we came to our own opportunity as being cruise directors. Because again, living in the same place, right? Everybody knew your business. Everyone, there was no hiding from anything, right? And that has translated into my leadership roles of today, having that separation, you know. If your colleagues ask you out for a drink, you can politely say thank you, but no thank you. You don't have, because you don't want to put yourself in a position that then gives, you know what I mean? Like you just want to make sure that you're protected all the time and respected.
I always had Carol as an excuse for that because Carol never wanted to go out. So I'm like, no, thank you very much for the invite, but I'm going to spend time with my wife tonight.
Right. But Paul was definitely one of them. I'm going to say that when I was at Butlins, another gentleman who I still speak to today. In fact, I saw him at the Saudi Entertainment Expo last year, and that is Mr. Paul Wright. So, Paul Wright, if you're out there, thank you, sir. He was the entertainment manager at Butlins. He was incredible. Everyone looked up to him.
But what
Uh,
was it? What was it? What was the defining quality that made him
calm.
memorable for you?
Always calm, always calm
Calm.
in the moment when things weren't working or show production or something like that. Always calm, always calm. And when I saw him last year in Saudi, not a thing had changed. It was, and that's 26 years later, like nothing had changed, apart from my hairline. But that was, um, most recently, most recently. How could I not say Tim Kelly? Tim Kelly, former president of Atlantis Global. So Tim Kelly, president, had Atlantis, the Palm, Atlantis Sanya in China, and pre-opening and opening of Atlantis the Royal. This is Atlantis the Royal, where Beyonce was part of the opening act. Tim now works for Melco in Macau casinos. He is an absolute juggernaut of leadership, and I've never seen so many people have so much respect for one person. Imagine Tim. So he's president basically of 1, 2, 3 Aquaventure World. He's got three massive hotels. He must have 10,000 rooms, right? 10,000 keys. He's the boss. And the way that he came across with his communication, when he got up in front of a town hall discussing the last 3 months of the business, where does the business stand? He had everybody in the palm of his hand, everybody. So the respect that what I got from Tim was that he always owned the room. When Tim was in the room, you knew he was there. But he had that because of the way that he treated every single one of his colleagues. He was fair across the board, fair and friendly.
Fair and friendly, which doesn't always mean likable.
Correct?
When you are
Correct.
fair, you have to say no sometimes.
100%. 100%. But you are fair and friendly. And yeah.
That was what Darren Budden did.
Yes, I would say yes. I would say Tim and Darren are very, very similar. Very similar.
So I was always watching Darren, and actually, a couple of the hotel directors that I worked with was like, what's this? So in the office, in the cruise director office, when I was cruise director, I had a sign typed up behind the person who was
Yep.
sat there talking to me.
Yep.
And the sign said, "How would Darren handle this?" That was it. Because I
True
had to
though.
ask that question, how would Darren handle this situation? So I mimicked the characteristics that I learned and I modeled from Darren Budden.
I've just written down just a quick note here. So I've gone like listening, relationships, trust, overall communication, and fair and friendly. These are
Yeah,
these these are all key points that I've learned from significant leaders throughout my career. Charlie McDonald,
I didn't know
always
Charlie McDonald.
always striving for innovation and the best outcome. Always.
Yeah,
Always. And he always provided us, he always provided, when I say us, he provided the cruise directors the tools that we needed. If it was the latest, um, like doing the 360 surveys on us, right?
yeah.
Doing the whole 360 or the emotional intelligence and things like this. Like he was always providing the tools that we needed to be, I'm not going to say the best leader. I don't think there is such a thing as because we're always learning as leaders, right? Like, I can meet someone tomorrow and or listen to a podcast and you know what? I'm going to take that, you know? But Charlie was always trying to provide us what we needed so we could do a better job being a leader. Because I don't know if he ever said this to you, but Charlie said that he goes, a cruise director, when you're first promoted to cruise director, you are not fully efficient for at least 3 years
I would
because
agree with that.
the learning, right? Why are the people first promoted? Because you're expected to do well in the ratings, right?
Yes, and the job changed.
Job changed, right? All of a sudden you're leading if you're working on Oasis class or Icon class, you are leading teams over 150, close to 200 people, right? You're now majority of your work is back. You're managing all of that,
Yeah.
you know? So your skill set is not just about grabbing a microphone, jumping on a stage and going, "Hey, everybody, welcome on board." That's the fun bit. But that's only literally that's 5% of what we ended up doing.
It
The other
was. It really was.
95 is what you are so successfully talking about. And that's how are how are the leaders of today? Are the leaders of today different from leaders 20 years ago?
Do you think that leadership comes down to the courage to be disliked?
Okay, so I'm going to add another F to the fair and friendly.
Nice.
Firm, fair and friendly. Right? You do have to be, there's moments when you do have to be firm. And as a leader, I think the byproduct of being seen as a good leader is liked, right? And that takes time. You can have that, but there are moments that are uncomfortable and decisions do have to be made that, not everybody will agree with. And that might give them the perception that, meh, you're not a likable person. You're not giving me the information that I want to hear. Although the information I'm providing is going to have a better longer lasting positive effect. But right then and there, it's not the be all and end all, you know?
I asked Paul this, and
Yep.
I asked Paul how many. What's the test of a good leader? And I always it was a measure that I used was how many people came to me when I was leaving a ship, or they see me online and they make a comment, or they dive into me DMs and they go, "Cuddy, we miss you. We missed this part and this part." And I still remember when you did this for me.
Right.
And I asked Paul, "How many times does that happen?" He went, "Actually, Cuddy, more now than he probably used to." Because I was very open with Paul and said, "Paul, I genuinely learned more from you than any other cruise director." That's no disrespect to the other cruise director. There's been no cruise directors that listen to this. They're
Yep. Yep.
far too
Yep.
bigger egos to be able to listen to a podcast.
Hey,
And
as a leader, is there room for ego?
you've got see that's a good conversation point because you've got to have a certain amount of ego to be able to get out and stand in front of people and be fearless
Go
and
back
to
to
be
Paul.
firm.
Go back to Paul. We'll get back to that.
Right. I think ego got me so far, but then it also pushed me over the edge.
Point.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I wonder if how many people have reached out to James Andrews and gone, "I really missed this part." So I see your comments on LinkedIn, and there's a lot of people say, "We really miss you."
Yeah, it's LinkedIn, I think LinkedIn is such a great tool for
Mhm.
us, like in leadership roles, mentoring roles. I mean, it's all job postings are there, right? But it's a very interesting space, and you do get a lot out of it. And when people that you haven't really connected with for a long time make a comment on posts that you put up, it's nice. It's nice, right? Because it shows you that they actually do remember you,
Yeah.
right? You know, yeah, I think LinkedIn's a very underutilized professional tool. Like here in the UAE, it's very, very well used. Back in Australia, people LinkedIn, nah, what LinkedIn, what? Like it's uh, yeah.
So what do you want? So for you've learned certain things from your leaders. What do you Pat? What do you want the lasting impression of James Andrews to be as a leader? What do you focus on imparting?
It's you know what I think the accumulation of all these points that we have sort of brought up, if any of those can then filter down to any of the teams that I've worked with recently or in the last, I think that's a win because they are taking the knowledge that you have, right? And then you're sort of like passing the torch, so to speak. But um, I'll use one character that I worked with most recently. He was my assistant manager from Kenya. His name is Victor. I love watching this guy fly, man. This guy is a leader of tomorrow. He's a leader now. He's a leader of tomorrow. And witnessing him hold a staff meeting, I found myself taking notes. This kid, like, he's 27 years old. He's just got married. He's 27. And the way that he was delivering this staff meeting, he had a well thought out agenda, right? He had his points that he wanted to talk about. Um, he gave everybody the opportunity to speak at the end of the meeting, and he had the timing just right. Now, some may agree, some may not agree, but the timing of a meeting, how long a meeting should be, particularly when you're a leader and the points that you want to get across, I think that's super important as well, right? For me, no more than half an hour. A meeting should really be no more than half an hour to get these key points across. If you're communicating effectively with your team throughout the course of your voyage, throughout the course of that week, throughout the course of the month, meetings shouldn't really have to be any longer than 30 minutes, right? Because your communication is always on point. Your teams should also know at this point that if James is sharing something on WhatsApp, right, it's something to be read. It's not just a GIF, right? It's not just an emoji. It's not just like a throwaway, how's your day going, Kia? You know what I mean? Like it's actually something, okay, communication. So I think communication is the important one. For me, if I've managed to pass any of that down to any of the teams that I've worked with, being an effective communicator, being listening, how you articulate yourself in a meeting, any words, verbiage that you use, hey, and if you can have a good sort of like um, being a little bit animated, knowing when to sort of like, hey, okay, guys, we need to talk about this, right?
Mhm.
This might become a little bit uncomfortable, but please respect the fact that we need to talk about. Or you might be, hey guys, you know what? Last week, phenomenal. Like it's all about adjusting the tone. So if I can pass that on to my teams, fantastic.
It's amazing. So you have let's look at the skills now for
Yep.
James Andrews to go from Butlins
Yep.
to crew staff on which is with bingo and trivias and bagos and little activities on the cruise ships to activities manager.
Yep.
Apologize, just got a bit dry there. To basically running the entertainment and the guest service experience in one of the finest hotels in Dubai.
Most iconic hotel in
Yeah,
Dubai with the Burj Al Arab. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's interesting. So to give your listeners and your viewers a quick, more in-depth background. So I ended up in Butlins in 1997 as a team leader of the food court because I had McDonald's, right? My McDonald's experience as manager, I went back to the UK. My dad was in the UK, ended up in Skegness as a team leader. Mr. Paul Wright, who I mentioned before, recognized the fact that you're in the wrong job. You've got this bubbly, outgoing personality. I'm like, do I? Okay. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and James is on a revolving stage wearing a red coat in studio, what was it called, in Reds, right?
Yeah.
And I'm hosting their equivalent to like a morning show, and the revolving stage was myself and a female presenter because it was like the two of us. The stage turns around, the park hand lights go on, and then there's like 1,000 people in front of us, and it's like, and like butterflies, like flying out of my mouth. They were so big, right? Zero experience in entertainment, zero. But I had leadership from McDonald's and then being a team leader in the food court. So that's see how that's now that's coming together, right? So at the end of my Butlins career, it's like there was a newspaper back in the day called The Stage, and it
Yeah.
says opportunity of a lifetime, work on a cruise ship. Okay, this is what we do next. So fast forward 6 months, and I'm in Miami, and I I'm about to board the Grandeur of the Seas, February 2000, and I look up at the ship. I'm like, I've never seen a ship so big.
Oh, yeah.
And the HR representative saying, James, you're signing on today? Yeah. What are you doing? Apparently, I'm this thing called crew staff, and I had no idea what they did. Like, no idea. It was like thrown in head first, right? But because of my leadership and I mean, love the job, as you mentioned, bago, bingo, theme nights, sail away parties, I was quickly promoted to assistant cruise director on the Vision, and I was doing Alaska a year later. So it just progressed from there. Like it was just,
Mhm.
when you have a passion for doing something and you're enjoying and I'm a big one for being grateful and gratitude, right? If you can find something to be grateful for every single day, then you're going to it just puts you in a different frame of mind. And I was fully grateful. My career at Royal Caribbean was amazing,
I
amazing.
actually, do you know what? I've never once slated Royal Caribbean since leaving.
Nope. The
Nope.
thing is that if COVID hadn't happened, I probably would still be there, to be honest.
That's probably very true for me as well. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point. Yeah, yeah,
Now, have things been amazing since COVID? 1,000%. I wouldn't be here in Dubai,
yeah.
right? I wouldn't have had this experience with, Atlantis to Palm, the world's largest water park, and providing the entertainment in the world's largest water park, being part of the pre-opening team for Atlantis the Royal, escorting Beyonce and her children around. I mean, it was just these amazing experiences, looking after Novak Djokovic when he came and making sure that we pre-opening. Let me tell you a little story. So pre-opening of the hotel, Atlantis the Royal, very similar to a takeout of a cruise ship, right?
Yeah.
The yard is building the ship.
High
You don't
stress.
have much. You don't have much intake into how it's going to be delivered because that's already part of the contract. The builders are now doing that. So the hotel is being built, and we're watching some things, and we're like, okay, we'll have to address that after we take ownership. And the tennis courts, two beautiful tennis courts painted green, right? So Australian Open and the US Open, they play on a blue surface, right? Not green. And we started to hear these rumors that the players wouldn't come because the court was green and not blue. So I mentioned the procurement process before. I've never seen a procurement process get turned around so quickly because Novak was saying that he would come. If we managed to turn the courts from green to blue in 6 days, and on the seventh day, Novak and his team were on the court playing. Incredible.
So why would they not play on a hard court which was green?
Because in the competition, they're all blue.
So
So
because of that, so they just want to be able to reciprocate the same.
correct. They want the similarities. They want everything as similar as possible to the courts that they're going to play on. Then I'm learning, well, it's not just paint. There's a certain amount of sand added to the paint. The
For the
more
grip.
sand, the more sand in the paint, the more spin on the ball. Right? So then I'm at home. I think this is like day four out of the seven. So day seven, he's on the court playing, right? Day four, I get this phone call. And if you live in the UAE or if you know it, it's notorious for like phone scams. Yeah. Like all of a sudden you get phone numbers pop up. And this one was from like a European country. That's all I'm going to say. And it rang. I went, oh. No, not in my contact list, right? No, not in my on the fifth go, I said, I'm going to answer the phone. It was Goran Ivanovic, who was at the time was Novak's coach. He was calling me. And I don't want to disrespect him by putting on the accent, but he was basically saying, is everything on track for the courts to be right? I said, 100%, no problem.
Wow, I didn't know about the sand though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So again, pivoting and adapt, leadership, being able to pivot and adapt,
We
right?
have to. We
It
can't be
was like,
rigid.
and in the meantime, this is peak season. You've got the recreation team, you've got the water sports team, you've got the guest service team, you've got all these other teams that are being looked after, but then you've got this one element, like the emergency sea day compass.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So, looking at the broader picture of absolutely everything about James Andrews now, James Andrews has gone from McDonald's,
Yep.
understanding leadership early, to Butlins, getting the
Yep.
entertainment part, but getting the guest experience understanding. Then we get to, and this is something that no one ever, and I missed out on this, and somebody mentioned to me a while ago, oh, you're really good at strategy. I've never seen myself good at strategy, but I started a conversation talking about actually on cruise ships, you've got to understand flow. You've got to understand getting people from there to there to there to hit the shops, to hit this, to da, da, da. And I'm developing something for where I live in Leven. We're going to start doing a comedy event
Mhm.
for the whole town and the whole not city but for the whole town. So we're gonna develop a big comedy program. And someone said, "My God, your brain's so strategic," and I'm like, "Oh my God, it is." Never even realized it. So I've now been at, and this is the power of perspective. I know you talked about that when you're working with Dr. Ryan Penny. Is perspective is one of those things that when we work with a coach or a manager or a leader, they get to show us a perspective that I've never seen before.
Good. This is a really good point, Cuddy. So, yes, because when I started at Atlantis, my VP, my vice president, Sasha, who he's Mr. Dynamic, right? We talk about leaders. He's a great leader. His background is food and beverage, right? And now he is vice president of Marine and Water Park at the world's largest water park. So bringing him through certain processes was, um, I had to learn very quickly on how being a crew again, cruise ships, fix it now attitude, go in there, sometimes a bit like a bull in a china shop, da, 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 and ta-da, we've got a solution because we're solution focused, right? Being leaders, we have to be solution focused. So we were working on this what could have been a very expensive. We were looking at launching. We had a whole storyline written, mascots, characters. I won't mention any names because there's a good possibility these are going to come up in the future. But a significant investment was spent on the creation of a whole character. So think of Marvel, right? You go to Disney, you got all the Disney IPs, you got all the characters, right? Aquaventure World had its own line, own IP of characters. And it got to the point where, okay, well, how many individuals do we need? Let's say King Arthur, right? How many King Arthurs do we need? Well, how many individual people? Well, if you're activating 7 days a week, you can't just have one person because you're going to give that person 2 days off, right? Then you got a six, you're going to have like probably two main characters and another study. So you're paying now three people for one character. And to get that understanding across, that was that was challenging. So James takes him down the road to Warner Brothers, right? So you can see the entire operation. So you can see the wardrobe, the green room, the characters. So you can feel it, touch it, taste it, right? And actually have a like a full immersive experience, not just me on a PowerPoint going, okay, so we need this, and that's going to equate to how many dollars?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's perspective, isn't it?
perspective. Yeah,
So you can see it. It's
yeah,
not even existing at the moment, is it?
correct.
And that's what working with the coaches and the good leadership is. It's funny when I asked you to name your leaders that remember you that set you alight. You never mentioned any hotel directors.
DB, Darren Budden, because you reminded me. Hotel directors. Oh, and then captains.
Yeah, I'm strange. You're still not mentioning. You don't have to. You actually don't have to. But you're absolutely right. We think
Raymond Schneider.
captains.
Raymond Schneider. I work with Raymond a lot.
Mhm.
He was incredible, Austrian. So my experience with Raymond gave me experience with Sasha, Sasha being German. So let's talk about culture, cultures and leadership, right?
Mhm.
Depending where you're from, and Boban, who is my hotel director on the Gillespie project, from Serbia. Like amazing, amazing. German, Austrian, somewhat similar, very, very methodical, very planned, very strategic, right? Um,
Very abrupt.
can be, but that's neither here or there. And that's another thing about the benefits of you and I and the experiences we've had, because we have had all these different nationalities, all these culturally diverse ways of doing things, right? Even here in the UAE, right? I'm working and living in a Muslim country. I love it. I love it.
It is. No, Dubai is lovely.
Everybody knows where they stand, right? The people are beautiful, right? They're very, very passionate about their home and where they're from. And the same goes to my hotel director that was from Austria, or my hotel director that was from India, or my hotel director that was from Canada. Like you take all these things culturally away from them, right?
Yeah, it is. I
Robert Taggart. Robert Taggart. I
Oh,
don't know
I
if you.
never worked with Robert Taggart, but I heard he was
Oh,
very good, very nice. Yeah,
oh,
yeah. But he'd got a keen eye for detail.
keen eye for detail. Another Canadian. He was a classic case, or still is firm, fair, and friendly. He was those
Yeah,
three characters.
yeah. So James Andrews was up there for me, definitely. Not even going to lie to you on that one. Not just because you sat there. James Andrews was a key remembrance for me. I absolutely Philip. I worked with Philip, and Philip was. I'd never met a hotel director like Philip before. He was everything that you would not expect, and I would have died for the man.
Philip, what's his last name? I didn't work
I know
with
you're
him.
going to ask me for his last name.
I didn't work with him, Caddy, so don't
So I
know.
worked with him on I think we were in Alaska, but we did, and he kept asking me to come back. And he never told, he only ever asked. He allowed us to be the experts in our industry when we weren't experts sometimes.
Right.
I enjoyed every interaction with Philip. And I never probably wanted to work with another cruise director. And he was never oppressive. He was never aggressive. He was actually, a lot of people would have said he's too laid back and not really, but he got results and everybody loved him. And then when we got the hotel directors that came in that were a little bit more authoritative, we were all like, what are you doing? You don't need that style because Philip's been amazing. Held us accountable, always nice.
Yep.
Just don't think I ever went for a drink with him or anything like that, but we did team nights. We did like meet senior manager. Philip, I still follow him on social media, and he got the best results. I think he kept getting offered all the bigger ships. He's like, no, I don't really need to. I'm happy here and stuff like that. He did the world cruise. He did the world
Ah,
cruise with Joff Eaton. Now I will
yeah.
say Joff Eaton was a fantastic leader as well.
Correct. Very good. Very
Joff
good.
Eaton knew what he wanted, knew what he
Yep.
got, was quite strict with certain things. So
Yep.
I don't know if it right. So I'm very I self-awareness I think is key for me. I don't like rules. Joff loved rules. I've never been a fan of rules and
Goff
constraints.
is very particular. He's a man that knows what he wants. He knows how he wants it delivered, and deliver it, please, the way that I ask for it to be delivered. And
Correct.
there's nothing wrong with that. But
No.
he's very passionate. He's very particular, but he also this delivers an incredible guest experience. And I will say
Yes.
that since Joff has been with the cruise line, and you look at what activations and activities and entertainment now, a lot of that has come from how what Joff brought with him when he
Yeah.
first joined. And I will say the game shows, right?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, his game shows. My God, his PowerPoints.
right, exactly,
You
exactly.
needed you needed a degree in his
Yeah.
PowerPoints.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I would do my progressive trivias on the transatlantic and like, hey man, it's and then well, do you want the projector set up and do you want the screen and do you want the it's okay. Just go with it's like, go with the flow. Like we're here to have some fun.
What I will say about Joff eating, and I know Joff won't eat and won't watch this. If there's two people who should not like each other and not love each other as business people, it's me and Joff.
Okay.
We were complete opposites.
Were you with him on
I
Independence?
think I did a couple of stints with him on Indie. No, I did one stint on with Indie. On I think I did a 2 month fill. I took over from Rob McNally, and on paper, me and Joff should have hated each other.
Yeah.
And within 3 days, we absolutely loved each other. I mean,
Yeah,
I could not say a bad word about the man. And
Joff
there
and
was
Amber.
something like because he wanted, especially the morning shows, he wanted a certain script to follow, and I would be, I'm not doing it, Joff. No, but Cuddy, this is what works. This. Joff, I'm not doing it. I have to do it my way. I have to do it the way of Cuddy.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, okay. And he let me. And we came together. So there's something that happened between me and Joff, and it's the strangest thing. I can't explain what happened. We were doing a morning show, which was the video production of something, and he started getting a twinge in his legs, in his neck. He got a twinge and he started doing this, and he fell on the floor and he just started laughing. He went, "Cuddy, I don't know if I'm paralyzed. I don't know what's going on." Me and Joff could not look at each other for 3 weeks without laughing.
Yeah, Joff
And
was a
me
good.
and Amber got on like a house on fire. And again, if there was two people that wouldn't shouldn't get
Yeah.
on, it's me and Amber because of the way that they were, the rules, the strictures, and the perfection that they have. I'm rough and ready, soil, dirty,
Yep.
gritty, and we just absolutely adored each other. I love Joff and Amber to this day are still two of my bestest friends. Absolutely love him. I love his perfectionism, and I learned so much from him. And if it hadn't been for working with him for that 2 months, I probably wouldn't have done so well on the Independence the year after when we took over. And I think I was one of the only cruise directors that did as well as Joff in the English market. And you know that me and Joff are two completely different people.
I was Joff's fill for 3 contracts out of Southampton.
And it was
I know
brutal.
exactly how hard you had to work to get anywhere close to Joff. So congratulations.
Yeah, there was a couple. Even Joff was like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Just being me, pretty much
Yeah.
following your product, just with me." He was like, "Oh right, okay, yeah." And I remember there was a time I was away on. I'd been away, and Ken said, "Look, we need you to go and do a fill on here." I said, "Not a problem." FYI, I've seen the programs and stuff like that. I think I took over from Rob McNally. And I sent him a new grid, which is what we did. I know this is off script of what we were talking about, and a lot of people won't get this, but just me and you talking. I sent him a new grid from activities. I went, just put this in, and we'll take over from next week when I take over.
Right.
Oh, well, we can't. I don't know if you can do that. We can do that. So we can because we did it 2 years before. So just put this in, this in. And within a week, we turned the ship around from red into green straight away. They were, well, what did you do? I'm like, you've just got to understand the British people. The British people want something consistently. You've
That's it.
got to have three things on at the same time. Otherwise, they're going to say there's bored and there's nothing going on.
And that's going back to your point about understanding and recognizing the flow, right?
Flow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And who did I learn flow
The
from?
flow, the
Charlie
flow,
McDonald might have been the flow king, to be fair.
so Charlie Mack brought in the Activities 360. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we discussed like different days of the cruise
Yeah.
would recognize would resemble different elements. Like there was the build, like you're building up,
Yeah.
um, which was very good. And I think even now Charlie now with Spark Cooperative, his company, and the software that his team have designed, and they all just it all is focusing on how to basically present the perfect day of
Yeah.
that resort, the perfect day for that ship. Um, that being said, being in a resort, it's very hard because your guests are checking in, checking out
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Every day is a Saturday, right? But yeah, but no, I mean, but this as a leader was always enticing because you're always learning, right? You're always, as a leader, you're always gathering information. You're always trying to make next Easter better than the last one. You're trying to make this July better than the last July. We're going to have the best summer ever. We're going to, what can we do to our experiences so the guests want to keep coming back,
Yeah. Yeah. This was enlightening, mate. Your leadership, the leadership that we it's the leadership is the legacy that we leave behind that people remember, isn't it?
Correct. Yep.
So what have you left behind? As we start wrapping up, James Andrews, what have
I'm
you
not I'm not done yet, man. I'm not leaving anything behind yet.
right now where you
Very
are,
fast.
what have you left behind for your leadership?
For the teams that I've had the pleasure of working with, right? Over the course of my professional career as a leader. So let's say it started 25 years ago. To see my, to see the teams that I've honestly had the privilege of working with, be it people like yourself, be it Jimmy Rhodes. Jimmy Rhodes is now takeout entertainment director for Virgin Voyages. He was my assistant cruise director on Explorer of the Seas in 2004, right?
Yeah, Jimmy was great.
See Ken Jones, who has just retired from Royal Caribbean. He was a 15-year cruise director. He was my activities manager on Serenade of the Seas. Lee Schwareb, he's the entertainment director of SeaWorld here in Abu Dhabi. He was my activities manager on board Freedom of the Seas. Um, Seeing people that I've worked with fly, I like to call it fly, right? I love seeing you fly yourself, Cuddy, right? Who's to say that the success that you're enjoying today, right? Maybe I've had a little piece of that, I've had a little to do with that, your success,
James
right?
Andrews, let me hit you with this. You have been the wind beneath my wings.
You're a legend, Cuddy. Dude, Cuddy, I honestly, I say this with all my heart. I love seeing you fly. I think it is the most amazing. You and I talked a lot during COVID.
Yeah, man.
We touched base with each other all the time.
Did.
It was, it really, it was so, so helpful. And to see how many people you are helping, how many teams you're helping. So if that has been, something that personally as a leader that I've had anything to do with, or, I mentioned Victor, the guy from Kenya.
Yeah.
Watch his space. He's an assistant manager. He's going to be a director of something soon. He'll be a just because he's a sponge. There's always there's two types of people, right? There's people that get it and there's people that don't,
Mm,
right? And he's a get it guy. He's just absorbing everything he can from all the leaders he works with. I would say, be friendly, be genuine, be able to have those hard discussions when you need to,
mm.
respect, and you'll get the trust. And I'm not going to say happy days, but it puts you in a good position.
And on that bombshell, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. True leadership from James Andrews in Dubai, future director of some of the biggest hotels in Dubai and the Arab Emirates. I am 100% convinced of that. Thank you so much for coming on. If you've liked the content and you've enjoyed the podcast so far, there's about 1,000 more podcasts for you to enjoy to help you manage your minds, to be more efficient, and to start looking for those solutions. As always, I know if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And please, please, please like and subscribe. Genuinely enjoy the podcast. James Andrew, anything you want to say?
Thank you so much for having me here, Cody. It's been awesome. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. As always, big love from Cuddy, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Mind Management Mentors podcast.